Hey guys, today I'm going to apply Karl Polanyi's concept of a market society to Ireland's ongoing housing crisis. In a separate video, I have already covered Polanyi's ideas. If you would like to delve deeper into his work, you can find a link to it in the description. But don't worry, this video will also provide a recap of Polanyi's criticism of market liberalism. The motive for making this video is to aid people in understanding both his work and its sustaining relevance in explaining current economic problems. Now let's begin. Market liberalism combines a market economy with liberal values such as individual rights. This ideology has become the dominant theory guiding state governance post World War II. Across Western Europe and North America, it competed with the Soviet Union until its collapse in 1991. Since then, market liberalism has spread into Eastern Europe and much of the global South, with varying success. Wherever market liberalism has gained state authority, the society has developed into what the economist Karl Polanyi describes as a market society. The ideas of free markets shape all aspects of life. Simultaneously, what Polanyi calls the double movement has occurred. In response to the inadequacies of market society, welfare states have developed to ease these faults. The redistribution of wealth through social programs come in many sizes. In the Nordic countries, the welfare state is robust, as it has been governed by social democratic theory. In the United States, the welfare state had a golden age under President FDR, but is slowly being dismantled since the 1980s, starting with Reagan's presidency. Even today, Social Security is under threat, with Donald Trump recently calling for cuts to such programs. While he at times walks back on these comments, it is clear federal welfare programs are under threat from the Republican Party. The faults of market societies can be seen in the political and economic crisis of 2008. A global recession occurred, damaging Ireland disproportionately when compared to its neighbours. This was due to the structural weakness within the Irish economy, due to cronyism, which rotted the political institutions of the country. The political and business sectors in Ireland overlapped, resulting in ineffective regulation. In other words, the economy became entwined with society at the expense of the country. High unemployment occurred, along with high emigration, as faith between the public and the country's institutions evaporated. The political repercussions of this were felt in 2011, when Fianna Fáil, Ireland's dominant political party, was voted out and replaced with Fine Gael. However, what followed was not a shift in market liberalism, but the continuation of it. While Ireland did recover economically, Fine Gael has continued to commodify services in the country with the privatisation of various government functions. Instead of evaluating Ireland's type of capitalism in a systemic way, criticisms of what happened in 2008 were instead reserved for failures by specific government leaders as well as bankers in the private sector. The continuation of the same form of market liberalism ensures that Ireland will once again enter another boom followed by another devastating bust. This partly explains why Ireland is currently in the grip of a housing crisis. Currently, Ireland has one of the highest costs of rent in Europe, with housing being one of the central issues in Irish politics. For many Irish citizens, home ownership will always be out of reach unless something drastically changes in government policy. This crisis is fueled by the commodification of housing in Ireland. Instead of viewing housing as a necessity to life that should not heavily rely on the markets to provide, in Ireland, it is an investment opportunity. House ownership makes up most of the wealth in Ireland. This has had disastrous effects on society that Polanyi would say was inevitable. The marketisation of society creates social upheaval and has created an unsustainable housing market in the country. Ireland, which once had one of the highest rates of home ownership in the EU, has fallen from 79% in 1991 to now 66%. The result has been even more impactful on the younger generation, with less than a third of 30-year-olds now owning their home. The renting market is equally broken, with the average rent in Dublin now reaching over €2,000 a month. This is unaffordable for most of the country. And unlike many other European countries, Ireland allows no-fault evictions, meaning that evictions are a chronic problem for renters. Nearly 10% of renters have been evicted over the last 3 years, or around 30,000 homes. The housing crisis has also fueled the growth of the far right in Ireland. Unlike most of its EU neighbours, Ireland does not have far right parties with parliamentary representation. But in the last 2 years, there has been a growth in far right groups in Ireland, who particularly campaign around immigration. This has led to both peaceful protests as well as violent, such as the Dublin riots in 2023. It has also led to at least 19 arson attacks on buildings being used or rumoured to be used to house asylum seekers. So far, none of these have resulted in injuries, but these attacks have galvanised many far-right activists across the country. The small far-right political parties that do exist have been using the frustration in the public with the housing situation to further their support. Using the Polanyian understanding of a market society, it explains much of what is happening in Ireland and abroad. Market liberalism has led to exactly what Polanyi said it would, and his criticism of commodification continue to ring true today. Until this commodification is reversed, the welfare state must be wielded effectively to ease the negative results. Only with a robust social welfare policy can stability within society be protected. If political parties such as the Republicans in the United States can destroy this, it will cause both a social and economic crisis for millions. This threat is not just present in the United States, but across the world as the authoritarian right gains traction. For Ireland, it especially helps us in understanding the current housing crisis that has had devastating consequences for the country. But it is important to remember that in such a globalized world, it is not occurring in a vacuum. The consequences of a market society are felt everywhere. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. I'll see you next time.